every idol, so this heart won't stray. Don't let me stray. I just wanna be your sanctuary, a dwelling place for grace and mercy. Keep sifting me till.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Threshing floor. My name is Darryl Weinberg. And yes, you can see I'm back here in my home studio again. Hallelujah. It is great to be back. And as many of you saw yesterday on the Ruach HaMet broadcast, it was fascinating discussion that I wanted to continue today. So I have decided that I'm going to bring on a good friend of mine, someone who is well known to the Lamb Network. Everybody say hello to Larry Cigary this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Shalom, shalom.
Good morning, Larry. How are you today?
Great. Had a great Shabbat yesterday and ready to roll into this next week.
Amen and amen. So for those of you who don't know, Larry is a regular on the Let Us Reason Together show on Friday mornings with Mark David Smith, and there's another rabbi there too somewhere.
David Weiss.
Yes. So you're certainly no stranger to the network, and one who is well aware of what is going on in the world. So I thought that it would be interesting for us today to discuss a little more about, of course, what everybody's talking about, and that's the whole Charlie Kirk assassination this past week. Now, I have been aware of Charlie for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen numerous video clips of him in debates and discussions and stuff like that, and he was certainly a force to be reckoned with. I don't know how familiar you are with him, but he was certainly a pleasure to watch.
Yes.
And
I've watched him in Cambridge, and what's that other college? Oxford, yeah, in the debates there.
Mm-hmm.
Did a magnificent job of presenting himself and presenting his ideas and his cause, and in a way that could not be argued with, because he, as they say now, he brought receipts. He brought facts.
Yes. I would say probably he and Ben Shapiro are both two of the most formidable debaters. You did not want to get into a discussion with them because they're completely unemotional when they talk. You look, by contrast, just as an extreme example, Cenk Uygur.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe what listening to him is like, other than you want to go for the medication or the pistol. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you need a beeper with him also.
Well, but I mean, that's all part of the persona, and him and Anna Kasparian, both of the Young Turks, and just the insane rantings. They talk over you. Mm-hmm. I've had the displeasure of seeing actually both of them on Piers Morgan at times, and Piers Morgan, I think, is the modern day version of Jerry Springer.
Yeah, yes. The things he allows. Yes.
Well, and, he also tries to give the impression that he is trying to keep order and stuff like that, and yet, man, it's crazy. So, with Charlie, when you look back on his life, Here's a guy who started an organization at 18,
Mm-hmm.
started Turning Point USA at 18 with the intent of being a voice for young people in the colleges. Now, what's interesting is that he dropped out of college himself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people who, tried to go after him about that. You would have people who would come up to the mic and they would say, well, what's your education? And he says, nope, I don't have a college education. Because basically he was saying, well, I didn't want to get ripped off. And then he would prove to the person who was talking why they've been ripped off with their, hoity-toity education. So he was an incredible voice, very, very bold in his witness for the Lord.
Yes.
I was looking last night. There was a video that was posted that I had seen before, but there was somebody who was challenging him on Israel, and I think it was one of these. I don't even know what you call them now. The alt-right people that they get up there and they claim to be Christians, and yet they hate Israel.
Yeah.
Israel derangement syndrome, and I've dealt extensively with that on my podcasts. But he started asking this guy, okay, so where was Jesus from? Where was he born? And the guy would say, well, what does that matter? And Kirk just went on to completely eviscerate the guy and let him know that the faith that you claim to have started in Israel. Jesus is Jewish. He lived as a Jew. He died as a Jew. And what a lot of Southern Baptists are going to be shocked at is that he's coming back as one.
Yes.
I know.
And they're going to be shocked when he comes too. It's like I thought we were supposed to be out of here.
I think so. So, you have this. What has happened now is that yes, there's a voice that was taken out, and he was a voice of reason. But again, as I mentioned yesterday in my message, I think that the sense that I'm getting from all of this is that what the enemy meant for evil, God is going to turn for good. And this is not going to work out the way that the devil had hoped and the globalists. Now, there are all kinds of theories as to who did this.
Right.
There's, I think, unquestionably it was a professional hit. I think that this patsy that they got, this Tyler Robinson, who's living with a trans guy or whatever kind of garbage they're pulling up here. Again, he is an Oswald. He's a patsy. And the deep state loves to do this. So this was a professional hit. Now, who is behind it, we're not sure. There's a lot of people saying it was Mossad.
I don't understand that.
Well, the reasoning behind it is that he had become a lot more vocal in his criticisms of Israel. And right from the get-go, Charlie did not buy the October 7th narrative. Right away, he said there was a stand-down order. And that was something that I said right from the get-go, too. I mean, the most secure country and the most secure border in the world, and nobody showed up for 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very clear that some elements of the Israeli government, we don't know who. Was Netanyahu involved? Were other members of his cabinet? Because you also have to remember that right now, Netanyahu is in a fight for his political life. And one of the things that people are saying is that, and Charlie Kirk was saying this too, that right before October 7th, Israel was on the verge of what could conceivably be called a civil war. Netanyahu was trying to change the judiciary,
right?
Because the bottom line is that in Israel, the Supreme Court justices get to appoint their own justices. No other country in the world does that. It's always the government who appoints judges. And yet in Israel, that's not the case. And of course, the Israeli Supreme Court has been taken over by the left-wing globalists. I've heard that Yuval Harari has quite a bit of influence over there, being Israeli himself. So the World Economic Forum has gotten its claws into Israel. And listen, you look at the Israeli Supreme Court, it's entirely Masonic in its design and everything else. So we know that the Masons play a big part in Israel politics.
Okay.
And most of the, most of the prime ministers have been high-ranking Masons over the past, we know that Shamir was 32nd, Yitzhak Rabin was 32nd or 33rd when he was assassinated in 95. Ehud Barak, he's got big ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So the Israeli elites, the political elite, they're not necessarily good guys.
Okay. I had no idea that.
Oh yeah. No, there's Masonic symbolism that's all over Israel too. Everywhere you look. And how did the modern state of Israel get going? It was really the Rothschilds who kind of initiated the whole political Zionism thing. And so that, of course, discounts it in a lot of people's eyes, not understanding that God can use bad people too to get what he needs done.
Absolutely, yes.
When you call Nebuchadnezzar my servant, and the guy rampaged over the entire known world, or Cyrus, who ended up
my anointed, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance we might see Cyrus in heaven. I don't know. But so where were we going with all this? So
the division in Israel, it includes the Haredi that don't want their sons to be enlisted too. So that's a big drawback for.
So bottom line is that Charlie was starting to ask a lot of questions. He was adamantly opposed to the United States getting involved with Iran. And he was saying that it was going to lead to war, which a lot of people thought. And I thought the same thing. And it turned out to be a whole bunch of nothing. U.S. went in and bombed a couple of the reactors, which, when people are saying that, we've been hearing about Iran getting the bomb for like 30 years. Well, they had achieved 60 some odd % enrichment on uranium. And when you hit that level, you're nothing but weeks away from 90% enrichment, which is now military grade. You can make bombs out of that.
Correct. Yeah.
So unlike the saber rattling and everything else that's been going on, I think it's absolutely clear that Iran was on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon. And for any American to oppose dealing with that, I think is keeping your head in the sand.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got the Islamic regime, if you've got the Iranian Revolutionary Guards and the mullahs over there, it's not the Iranians themselves.
No.
I know a lot of Iranians. They're wonderful people. And they're coming to faith in droves, by the way. We have in Toronto, we have entire Iranian churches.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're, the Lord is showing up to them in dreams and visions. How many of the Iranians have come to faith through a dream or a vision is incredible. But the Islamic regime for 46 years has had its primary focus is destroying the West. And the two primary targets of that, of course, are Israel and the United States. So Israel is called the little Satan,
Yeah.
and the United States called. You can't let them get a nuclear weapon.
If they call you the great Satan, yeah. And I thought that was interesting that they make Israel the smaller one and the United States the greater one.
Well, because in their minds, the United States is running Israel, which is kind of interesting because that goes against the narrative of what Candace Owens keeps chirping online now, that the United States is run by Israel.
Yeah.
And that Netanyahu controls Donald Trump. Oh, I can see that happening.
Yeah. Well, detractors, make up your mind. Which one is it?
If anybody thinks that anybody is controlling Donald Trump, they are delusional.
Well, there's always Melania.
I don't know how much she controls him either. She might have influence, but
yeah.
But to say that U.S. Congress is controlled by AIPAC, when there's about 200 other lobby groups that spend more.
Yeah.
Are there congressmen and senators that are controlled by the Israeli lobby? Of course there are. But you tell me how many are controlled by Big Pharma.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think RFK has been doing a pretty good job of exposing all that. So Kirk was asking questions, and there are some indications that there was a Jewish element involved, like the plane that took off from the airport 15 minutes away that disappeared from the radar for 40 minutes, which you're not supposed to do.
Oh.
And that plane was owned by a couple that has ties to Israel. So, bottom line, this was a hit by some parties that were interested in silencing his voice.
Mm-hmm.
And at 31 years old, he was, I mean, it's almost like Joan of Arc type status.
Yeah.
So the question now is, what are the ripple effects that this is going to have? Because I don't know, did you hear Erica Kirk's?
I heard the highlights of it. I did not hear the entire speech.
Yeah, I heard about 10 minutes of it, I guess it was. But one of the things that she said is, you have no idea what you have unleashed.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that, that almost sends goosebumps, because she was fairly quiet behind the scenes. And I think now, what's going to happen is she's going to step to the forefront, and we're going to see some incredible things that are happening. I've also heard that Turning Point USA had, before Charlie's death, something like between 10 and 11,000 chapters across the U.S.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I think they had about 9,000 chapters in colleges and about 1,100 in high schools.
High schools, which is incredible. That is incredible.
They've had 18,000 requests for new chapters.
Wow.
Since his assassination.
Wow. Unleashing.
Well, and what's, I don't know if it was Erica or the CEO of Turning Point, but they posted on a tweet that said, "This is the turning point."
Yeah, I saw that too. And well, the interesting thing that I found out that I didn't know before this was that he was a Sabbath keeper. I saw a video of him explaining how he came to be a Sabbath keeper and what it's done for him and his wife. And it was an incredible testimony. He
I did not know that.
He said that Dennis Prager is the one that when Charlie was complaining about how, he's run down and he can't sleep and this and that. He was sharing that with Dennis, and Dennis asked him, well, what is your relationship with the Sabbath? And Charlie, gave all the usual excuses for not keeping the Sabbath.
Yeah.
And Dennis shot every one of them down. And he said that he tried it and he liked it. Go figure.
Hey,
and,
Mikey.
and he said he was energized by it, and he got his wife then on another video gave a testimony about how it changed their relationship and how it changed their family situation. And I was in awe of what was going on. It's like, Lord, I did not know that about this man.
No, I'd never heard that either. Wow. Okay.
So, he was deep into his faith and his relationship. And it wasn't just that. I've heard another person go, well, I like Charlie and everything, but I don't like people who put their faith out in front of you, because I've known so many people that did that and they turned out to be fakes and this and that. And it just turns me off. But Charlie, he was out front with his relationship with the Lord, and people challenged him on that. And he came through with showing that he wasn't a fake, that it was real.
Mm-hmm. So, what, of course, this has been all over the news. And again, like I mentioned in my message yesterday, that the intent of this is to bring about trauma. And I think that's what both Kennedy's assassinations did.
Definitely.
Is that they were going after the deep state, and they were taken out in order to avoid that, because after JFK was assassinated, you had Johnson that was put in, who was one of the worst and most corrupt presidents the U.S. has ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was an absolute disaster. Certainly, Vietnam was can be attributed the escalation, because I think Kennedy was trying to get out of that.
Yeah. He had only sent over advisors.
Yeah.
And it was Johnson that sent over troops.
Yeah. And it was it was Kennedy's intent to, he was going to do two things. He was going to dismantle the CIA, and after he fired Alan Dulles, that wasn't going to happen, because Dulles was, he was a major player in the assassination with LBJ, and so was David Rockefeller, by the way. But he was also going to dismantle the Fed.
The what?
And so the Fed, Federal Reserve.
Oh, okay.
So the same thing happened with Lincoln. He rejected the bankers, and he was assassinated. And it was suggested that it was the Jesuits who took Lincoln out. But so you've got this chilling effect that happened on the United States after the Kennedys were assassinated, and Martin Luther King for the trifecta there.
Yeah.
Although interestingly enough, King had some communist ties, so what was told about him isn't necessarily, they certainly lionized him, as they did with Mandela, and Nelson Mandela was an outright terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
But with what happened after Kennedy's assassination and the bringing in of the military industrial complex, the war machine, that it changed the United States for the worse. There's no question about it. Kennedy by no means was a saint.
No.
Obviously there was some organized crime ties, especially with his father. But, he was very much like Donald Trump. He was going against the establishment and trying to do, I think, what was genuinely good for the country. And the country went on a very bad trajectory after that. I don't get the sense that that's the same thing that's going to happen with Charlie Kirk now. I believe from everything that we're starting to see happen, and it's only been a few days, so we need to wait and see. But the time that we're in, a lot of the prophetic voices of what they're saying, this is going to blow up in the devil's face, I think, big time. I think it's going to have the exact opposite effect. And it was interesting. Do you follow Amir Tsarfati?
No.
He's an Israeli believer and has a huge ministry. I mean, he travels all over the world, has written a number of books, discovering Daniel, exploring Ezekiel. I get a lot of my information about what's going on in Israel from his Telegram channel. And he posted something about how this girl, I don't know where he finds this stuff, but this girl had, I don't know if it was on X, but she had posted how after Kirk's assassination, she picked up her Bible and started reading it. And she said that this is the first time that she's reading it front to back. And she says, all of the answers that we need are in here. So this is inspiring people. I mean, the shock, and I really think, Larry, and you're living down there. I mean, we have our own issues here, and unfortunately, I'm not sure how many people would have to be assassinated to wake Canadians up. Because, man, there's a big wet blanket over everybody in this country.
Well, in Alberta, they're standing up against stuff.
Yes, they are to a degree, but their grievance is predominantly economic.
Yeah.
And, this is what Trudeau Sr. did with the National Energy Program, is that he destroyed the Western Alberta's economy when he nationalized a bunch of stuff and came out with Petro-Canada, the gas company. But as far as spiritually is concerned, like I'm looking at the pastors, and brother, they're sleepwalking. Just, it's remarkable here. And I figure after what happened with COVID and after what happened with Art Pawlowski and some of the stuff that he did, everybody's just kind of gone back to normal. I don't see the hunger. I don't see the zeal. I don't see we got to get out and make things happen. But in the U.S., you're starting to see it in Britain too, with millions now taking to the streets and protesting against, which I think it's far too late for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would be able to reverse what's happened, because you've got so many Muslims that have been brought into the country, and the government is taking away so many rights that unless you have another Oliver Cromwell and start lopping off heads, I don't see how you reverse what's happened. I mean, Conor McGregor he's running for Irish Prime Minister. Good luck on that, guys. So
my reaction to all this is I've heard so many voices saying that this is an attack on freedom of speech, which, talking about Britain, they're having an attack on, definitely an attack on freedom of speech.
Oh yeah.
Here it's the we've caught the government trying to censor people through COVID and all that
Yeah.
mess. And Charlie was just speaking on a platform. That's all. He wasn't getting negative things against people in terms of character assassination and stuff like that. And they still, he was, I mean, I've seen so many lies about him online.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And people are free to express how they feel, but when it comes across as being facts, that's a little bit different. And so in here in the United States, it's this dynamic of how much freedom of speech do you allow before you start doing something about it. And we are totally against the government doing the censoring.
Right.
And what I have seen on YouTube and online are people themselves calling other people out.
Yeah.
I saw a YouTube presentation in which this person who's got like 600,000 people following him, he's been going online and finding all these people that are saying negative things or dancing on Charlie's grave and stuff like that. And he is exposing them and telling them that this is not going to be accepted. So it has awakened people to how terrible this assassination was, because it was a shot against freedom of speech.
Yeah.
The First Amendment.
Right. And it is the jolt that I think that the good people, the people who still stand for, God, country, and apple pie, that they've been cowed. You had the the BLM riots back in 2020, and there was a contrast, actually, someone just showed, between George Floyd's killing and what's happened with Charlie Kirk, and that there's prayer vigils and rallies and stuff like that, whereas the left has been rioting and burning down and stuff like that. But we kept hearing about all of these. When was going to be the line that the forces of evil would have to cross before it galvanized everybody? Because you talk about 380 million firearms in the US, and yet look at what the left has been allowed to do. Now, I'm very encouraged that Donald Trump is threatening to go after George Soros now. And my only response to that is, what the heck took you so long?
Yeah.
Why wasn't this reprobate? He needs to be executed for treason. I'm sorry. As are, many of the others who were involved. Half the members of Congress need to be hanging from nooses.
Now, that's hate speech.
Yeah, we hate evil. We hate treason. We hate betrayal of our own country.
Absolutely.
And if the Rosenbergs were executed for quote unquote treason charges, and there's no real evidence that they were the ones who sold the nuclear secrets to Russia, but they both got the electric chair. Then how is it that Soros has been able to get away with what he has for so long?
And it's obvious, we've always heard follow the money. Well, everybody knows where the money goes to, and he's been allowed to continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it'll be, I think, fascinating to see how God is going to turn this around and wake the people up, because the those who stand for the right things, you've had school boards that throw parents out because they're protesting boys and girls bathrooms. I mean, utter insanity.
Yeah.
And we all know that government only has power when we give it to them. Now, I mean, you do have dictatorships that, of course, violently suppress the people with the army. We saw that under every totalitarian regime, whether it be communist Eastern Europe or the Nazis, or you've got
the mullahs in Iran.
Yeah, the mullahs, absolutely. The Taliban. But bottom line is that if you have 3 million people that are walking in the streets of Britain now, flying flags and protesting, Keir Starmer is done. And he can send out all his cops that he wants. But when there are cops that are going to start getting violently attacked, the tide is going to turn very quickly. Because the power always belongs to the people when they have the numbers.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of what is going to galvanize them. And I think it's quite possible that Charlie Kirk's murder is going to be the wake-up call that might end up doing that. Mm-hmm. We hope.
Mm-hmm. At least spiritually, yes.
Well, we already see that happening. Yeah. And I think there's going to be many people who are going to start checking him out who may not have known him before.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, these are fascinating times that we live in. You've got so many people that are rising up against Israel now. So many people condemning Israel they're fighting a war on 7 fronts. Yep.
Yep.
Because all 7 of those areas, those arenas of battle that they're in, are terrorist organizations who have been threatening them.
Yeah. Yep. And yet the solution is to give Palestinians recognition as a state, which doesn't really logically fit.
Well, who's going to run it? Who's going to run Palestine? Hamas?
It doesn't matter. They're just going to give them a state.
Yeah, well, and what are the borders going to be? And so you're going to have this state that's separated. You got Gaza and West Bank. And besides, if you look at it historically, and I wrote a blog article on this last year, you can go to my website and check it out, that the Palestinians were already given a state. It's called Jordan.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But the Hashemite kingdom under King Abdullah doesn't want to give the Palestinians any kind of rights. They persecute them there too. Nobody wants these people.
Nobody wants. Egypt doesn't want them.
Egypt absolutely doesn't want them, because everywhere they go, they're trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't bring any benefit to any. And so now Britain is going to start, importing a whole bunch of them.
Good. I hope France does too. I hope Germany does. And that'll take care of the problem then. and the borders that they're talking about are the quote 1967 borders. Well,
they had the 1967 borders.
The West Bank was part of Jordan at that time. So how's that going to work out? People just don't look through history in order to make their proposals. And it's incredible to me that we have leaders that don't know history, period.
Well, why do you think they're put there? I mean, if you look at Keir Starmer, you look at Macron, and you look at, Mark Rutte, who's now head of NATO. This guy tried to take down the Netherlands and land confiscation, everything else, and he eventually resigned because the Dutch farmers wouldn't put up with that.
Yeah.
But you've got Starmer, you've got Macron, and you've got Stolz, I think his name is, the Chancellor of Germany. They're all World Economic Forum guys. And they were all caught on a train with Zelensky snorting cocaine with one another. It's just...
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Macron, you could see him taking the baggie off the table as they realized that they were being filmed.
Oh my goodness!
You can't make this stuff up, brother. I mean, this is what we've got supposedly running the world right now. But as we well know, these guys don't run anything. They just take their marching orders from organizations that control nations. And so you've got this dividing line. And, it was interesting that I met Art Pawlowski a couple of years ago at a conference. And he was telling us about how there was this vision that God gave him. And it was a big, long fence that, went into the horizon. And there were all these people that were just sitting on top of the fence. And he said these two great big arms from the elbow down appeared, just massive. And he says they grabbed the fence and started shaking it violently, back and forth and back and forth. And people were falling one way and people were falling another. And what the Lord was saying is that there's such a shaking that's coming. He said that everybody is going to have to make their decision. There will be no more fence sitting. And what we Hunter supplied.
Deborah.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Or at least his dealer anyway. He said that there was the shaking that was coming, that nobody was going to be able to sit on the fence anymore. Everybody had to make a decision as to where they stood. And God is desperately trying to wake up the body so that it can take its rightful place. I just got back from 2 months in Uganda, and I'm in discussions now actually to be going back fairly soon for another extended trip and a speaking tour. And one of the things that God had me share with everybody is that the reason why there's so much corruption in the Ugandan government, and it is one of the most corrupt even in all of Africa. I mean, you don't get anything done unless you've got someone on payroll. I had a meeting with one of the most powerful ladies in the whole country. Like, she's probably next to the first lady, the most powerful woman in the country. I was at her daughter's wedding, actually, which was pretty amazing. But she said, in our conversation, she said, basically, at some point in time, you're going to have to involve the government in your business dealings, because we were talking about doing coffee exports. And I still maintain this must have been the Holy Spirit's inspiration, because I just looked at her and there was about 5 other people in the room. And I looked at her and I said, I don't mind the government being in the living room. I just don't want it in the bedroom. And I think her jaw just about hit the table when I said that. She didn't quite know what, but she did say that as we were leaving, that if I wanted to go through her office, she says, "Oh, you can come through my bedroom here." I think I hit a nerve.
Uh,
But
yeah, to be behooven to the government in a corrupt society, that's
well, yeah, but here's what the Lord told me is that the reason why there's so much corruption in government is because there's so much corruption in the church.
ah,
And what God was saying is that if the church repents, and He's given us a message of revival for the country. He
mhm,
says, if the church repents of the orphan spirit, this, adopting the spirit of adoption, crying out, Abba Father, trusting Him for provision, not manipulating people, not stealing, and everything else. If the church does that, then God says that I will deal with the corruption in government. And so here's the thing: is that the church has been asleep for the longest time, and it has just gone along to get along.
mhm, mhm.
And what God is saying is that you are to be salt and light. You are to be a witness. And I always tell people that the church is the thermostat
Mhm.
in society. It's not just the thermometer, it's the thermostat. Whatever is going on in the church will be reflected in the rest of society. So if you want to know what kind of problems are in the church, just look at society in general. Look at government, look at the entertainment industry, the media, whatever. So the point is that there needs to be a wake-up call. And
Yeah,
I think what Kirk's assassination is going to do, it's going to be the jolt that galvanizes people to wake up and understand that when these people say that they want to kill us,
mhm,
that's not just rhetoric.
mhm.
They have an unbridled hatred. I mean, if you look at the blue-haired freaks out there
Mhm.
and see what's coming out of their mouth, I mean, it's completely demonic. And so if they're not in control, if it's the demons that are running the show, then what do you think is actually going to happen?
Well, Yeshua said, if the salt goes bad, what can you do?
Yeah,
So, and the salt has gone bad.
it's lost
Um,
its saltiness. It does
yeah,
not purify. It doesn't preserve.
when
Uh,
people are more interested in the prosperity gospel than they are in following Torah, that the salt has been putrefied.
well, and just before I got to Uganda, a very well-known prosperity gospel preacher who everybody knows, born in Toronto, or no, well, actually born in I think the West Bank, but grew up in Toronto.
Hmm.
And he's kind of like the poster child for this prosperity gospel stuff. Um, uh,
And he's going worldwide.
oh yeah, it's Benny Hinn.
Wow. Oh, Benny Hinn was there.
Yeah, he was there a couple of weeks before me,
Oh my goodness.
and does these huge stadium tours. Now, I understand that he's not quite getting the traction that he used to in North America because he did go bankrupt at one time,
Mm-hmm.
and all kinds of scandals. Now, interestingly enough, I know the woman who led him to the Lord in high school. And she said that she was the one that led him to faith, but she was also there when they went to a church meeting and watched the pastor, who is kind of at the foundation of the whole prosperity movement. And he was preaching, and she said she literally saw the demon jump off of this guy onto Benny, and then the Masons grabbed hold of him and started discipling him and gave him his platform. But what I said to the people is that if the people in Uganda are simply thinking that God is going to bless them for giving, they don't understand. I said, you don't give to get. You give because you've already been given.
Mm-hmm.
I said, God's not a genie in a bottle. It's not a slot machine. He's not Santa Claus. And I said, he's not going to bless you financially just because you're giving. That is a component of it, but you have to sow into fertile soil.
Yeah.
So if you're getting taught the word that's helping you, if I give a message that helps you with your marriage, or if I give you a message that helps you to understand better how to walk with God, or, prayer, or maybe something to do with your health, or whatever it is, whatever area of your life, if it's blessed you, then you say, well, that's something that I want to support.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're giving because you've already received, not because you're going to receive something.
Yeah. The motivation involved. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but what these guys do when they go across, and especially in Africa, because poverty is so prevalent over there, is this idea that, they're all looking for a handout. And so these guys are telling them, the people are raising up for themselves teachers that will tickle their ears.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was at a church one time, and I said, you can't outgive your disobedience. If you're not obeying God's commandments, you can't expect to be blessed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To me, it's the same appeal that communism has to poverty-stricken people.
Free stuff.
Yeah, free stuff. that the future mayor of New York City is plying the same stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, that's all that the prosperity gospel is. It's just appealing to people who want a handout.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here is, I think there is a turning that's happening, and it is a turning point. I think that prophetically, Kirk named that ministry without even knowing how that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And, it is absolutely tragic as to how he did die, the fact that he was assassinated. He leaves behind a young wife, 2 young children. But like I said, martyrdom is something that we are to expect.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-tribbers, they think that they just got to hang on until the trumpet call goes, and they're not going to have to deal with tribulation. And I heard from one minister who is a history buff. He said that's what got the Chinese church into so much trouble, is that when Mao came on the scene, they were all like, oh, well, we're going to get out of here before it gets really bad. And it was the non-pre-tribbers that disappeared into the mountains. The pre-tribbers, they were sitting ducks, and they all got rounded up and put into the execution camps.
Mm-hmm.
So God needed to send a shockwave. And I think what we need to do is we need to pray that Kirk's sacrifice would be a burnt offering that would be pleasing to the Lord. And that would, we need to pray the power of the Holy Spirit. I don't even know exactly how to describe it, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to get at here, is that now God is going to use this to multiply what he's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that the ripple effect that it's going to have is going to be distressing to the enemy, and that what he meant for evil, God is going to use for good in the expansion of his kingdom.
Yeah. In this country and in other countries too, because I've seen other countries reacting the same way that people in the United States are reacting.
Well, I mean, look what's going on in Israel, how they have this huge bulletin board of Charlie Kirk, because he was a defender of Israel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, to be a defender of Israel, you don't have to agree with everything the Israeli government does.
No, but you're a defender of the people.
And the rights of the land to exist.
Yeah, yeah.
So, wow, we have come to the end of our hour.
No, your clock must be wrong. We haven't even really started talking about it, but it was a good discussion.
If we keep going, Mark's he's gonna yell at us. Larry, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure.
I enjoyed our time together.
And next week, you don't want to miss Threshing Floor, because I am bringing Apostle Daniel Batambuze, who is from Uganda, and he has got a powerful, powerful ministry all about gates and seasons and times, and it is going to be a phenomenal discussion. So we invite everybody to come to that.
Excellent. Yes.
Thank you, everybody, and we wish you a Shavua Tov, a good week, and we'll look forward to seeing you right back here on Lamb Network. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
I won't run from the crushing. I'll hold on through the pain. What I lose means nothing.
If you missed today's show or want to watch it again, or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you can find this show and all the other live Lamb Show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network.
I just wanna be your sanctuary, a dwelling place for grace and mercy. Keep sifting me till everything is on the threshing floor.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take a tour of the lambnetwork.tv website. I'm Darryl Weinberg, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
How can I ever complain? Forgive me, Lord. I just wanna be your sanctuary, a dwelling place for grace and mercy. Keep sifting me till everything is on the threshing floor. Let it fall on the threshing floor. Everything that's between you